Welcome to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. I play it on the Xbox Series X. It's also available on the Series S, PS5, and PC. So you once again play as Titus. He is an Ultramarine of the Empire. He's plugged into a new squad as the Lieutenant, which outranks the Sergeant, which creates a little bit of saltiness. But the Ultramarines are fighting the Tyranids. And the first few missions, you don't really see where the game is going, but then once it starts moving, it moves. And I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed the story. I liked where it went. I liked the character dynamics. I always love experiencing more of the Warhammer 40k universe in a video game because I'm a video game guy. But overall, I really enjoyed the story. But let's move on to the audio, and I think the voiceover work is excellent for this game. It's not over the top in like a ridiculous way. It is over the top in a way that fits very well with guys in gigantic hulking armor who are essentially religious zealots. And it works for really everyone, whether it's the guardsmen, whether it's the Ultramarines. I think it all comes together very well, which leads into the music. And I gotta say, I love the music in this game. I think it works perfectly with everything going on in the game, whether you're slaughtering Tyranids, whether you're on the battle barge, just wherever. I think it works. Then you've got the sound effects, which are every bit as grindy and Hulk armor kind of situation as you would expect them to be. And by that I mean obviously gigantic hulking armored dudes and the sound effects of them trotting around. I'm talking about that meaty bolter gun, the chainsaw sword. Just all of those noises, they work. They're exactly what you'd expect. Then let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot. And as for the main story, it's a mission by mission. You get your objective, you can kind of look at it on the screen, and you kill a bunch of crap to get to it. There's no puzzle solving, it's just killing crap. You can tweak your loadout and unlock new weapons along the way that you can then add to your loadout on the battle barge between missions. You can also tweak your armor a little bit, DLC, etc. But there is no leveling, which I kind of like because it's a nice throwback to when games were simpler. Now the campaign can be played in co-op. I did not find a need for it to be. Your AI companions are actually useful. They're more than useful. They straight up murk stuff. But they're also smart enough to leave the enemies in the weakened state so that you can do, your execution move in order to replenish your shield. You also have a special move which allows you to regenerate as you just slaughter enemies wholesale. But it really doesn't get a lot more complicated than that when we're talking about the campaign. But there are also two other game modes. There's a PvP mode, which I'm going to tell you now, I really wasn't interested in, so I didn't play it. I have seen videos of people just having a fucking blast with it. It just wasn't something that I was particularly into. I did, however, play the co-op mode, which I tried to solo, and that did not go well. So I did jump in with a couple of randoms, and it went way better. I call it co-op mode. It's operations, and it's like, a mission you select, you go, and it's meant to be done co-op. But on your own, your AI companion's not that great, and you're not as much of a badass as Titus is, so you can get wrecked pretty handily. Also, there's limited revives. It's interesting because it's more class-based, which is kind of how the multiplayer stuff works. If you're the sniper class, you can stealth. If you're the vanguard, you have a grappling hook, which can launch you at enemies. Bulwark has a shield. I can't remember the other one, but you get the jetpack, which didn't work as well as in the campaign. I actually really preferred the vanguard. It goes a bit beyond that because each of them do fight in their own way. Some of them are much more melee based and others are more range based, and I think that worked well and it gave balance to the game. And even playing with the randos, I had a good time in the operations, so I gotta say, I liked that, and I'd like to go back and play it some more. Now let's move on to the controls, and I like the controls. I have no complaints with the controls. I think they worked very well. The only thing that threw me off, and I did get used to it eventually, is reload is the Y button instead of the X button, but X is melee, and I'm a little more comfortable with that being melee, so... But otherwise, I found them responsive. I found the camera to work very well. I didn't have any complaints there. There were, I guess, a few times where the camera got a little wonky, but for the most part, I did all right. I think the lock-on is a little weird in this game. I guess I probably should address this in gameplay mechanics and whatnot, but either way, you can lock onto larger enemies, but smaller enemies you cannot. But there is kind of like a soft auto lock-on for those guys. It works well enough, it's not flawless, but eventually you forget about it as you continue to play the game. Then last but not least, the graphics and visuals. And this game is kind of interesting in that there are straight up old school cutscenes. Very clearly pre-rendered, not gameplay graphics, like full on cutscenes. and they are beautiful. The cutscenes are really good looking, and they're a little weird because they're much more hyper realistic. There is a lot more detail in each of the characters in those. Like the hair looks exceptionally better in those than it does in the main game, or the actual gameplay, I should say. That being said, it's not like the gameplay looks terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It does look good. It is a little over the top, which very much fits. I wouldn't say it's cartoony, but I wouldn't say it's hyper realistic when you're talking about the gameplay graphics. But I do love the designs in this game. The armor is awesome. They do a good job making it fit very much with the Imperium, and each of them being a little different, not super different. Different color helmets for different ranks, different masks, etc. Different battle damage and just other things you can do. Plus, you get your own armor, and you can kind of customize your armor, and that actually plays in way more into the multiplayer modes. You can unlock other armor, so you can really customize your armor so much more for that than you can for the campaign. I also love the creature design. I always have. No orcs in this one, like I said, Tyranids, and I thought they looked awesome. I mean, they are a bit samey, but you're getting swarmed by enough that you don't really care. And there is some variety to them, but I like overall the world. I gotta say, I think exploring the different areas or getting to see the different areas is what makes this game really awesome. I've always enjoyed their design, the architecture, etc. So getting to see more of that is always just fun, and you get to see a lot of it. It's also bright and colorful. You get a lot of vibrant colors and designs in the different areas that you are in, whether it's the city, whether you're in a jungle, even the underground looks awesome. But you get a lot more of that Warhammer 40K design, and I just think that's cool. I do have to bitch and moan a little bit about one thing graphically, and that is texture popping. This game, there's a lot of it, just plain and simple. Oh man, and I almost forgot, one thing that I really loved was, in the first mission, you get just gore soaked, and that looks awesome, but you have a cape in that, and it looks sick. The fabric motions and physics of that look really good, and I think the fabric motions in general in this game look awesome. Small, stupid detail, but I loved it all the same. So to get into the wrap-up, I really enjoyed this game. I had a lot of fun with it. I definitely intend to revisit it at some point. I mean, it really is that simple. It goes back to a simpler time, which is appreciated, and it works. As dumb as that may sound, like all of that put together, I just really enjoyed a more simple experience every now and then that's nice to get into. I can recommend this. If you're looking for an action game and you love sci-fi, this is an awesome one. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, what was your introduction to the Warhammer universe, 40K or otherwise? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.